Hello, my name is Bob. Welcome to a short stop on pool. Last week's rack of the week was a textbook rack, and I promised to start including some racks that are not textbook or deal with more trouble. Trust me, I have a lot of those racks. This week's theme is decide and commit. When things aren't going well, it's important to commit to your decisions to give yourself the best chance to keep your run going. Let's get into the rack. My break shot for this rack certainly is not textbook. It's low, it's far from the rack, and my cue ball is in a very less than ideal position. So what do we do in this situation? You might be kicking yourself for playing bad position or not making a better break ball earlier in the rack. One thing you got to do is let go of all the negative energy. You've got to say, okay, this is the shot I have, and I'm going to do my best to pocket the ball. Turn any negatives into a positive. So I might be, geez, the cue ball's on the rail. I wish it wasn't on the rail. Well, hold on a second. From this angle, I can make a really solid bridge on the rail. And with this break shot, I'm going to want to use a high ball, and I can't do anything but aim high on the cue ball with a rail bridge. So I can turn that into a positive. I also know that I've got to remain very still and make a very smooth and straight stroke in order to pocket this ball. And that rail bridge is going to help me to do that. I know that this isn't an ideal break ball, but I also know that shooting with a medium firm stroke, the cue ball is going to follow that tangent line right into that corner ball of the rack, even though I'm shooting high on the cue ball. So what that means is the variables are all taken out of this shot. I have a high bridge, I can do nothing but shoot at the center of the cue ball, and there's no way for me to try and hit a certain part of the rack. All I can do is make a straight, smooth stroke and focus on the aiming point into the center of the pocket. So it's eliminated a lot of variables and made it easier to focus on the thing that's important for this break shot, which is to pocket the ball. So the first step in pocketing any break shot is extra important on this one, and that first step is to walk over behind the object ball and sight it into the pocket, which you'll see me do here. What you can't see me do is keep my eye on the object ball as I walk back over to the cue ball. And that's really important because what it's doing is it's inputting 3D spatial information into your brain. Believe it or not, it helps you to visualize the correct aiming point when you're down on the cue ball. And then the final thing you can do to give yourself the best chance to make this break shot is to practice it. And I talk a lot about how to practice break shots in my book. Essentially, put an entire rack of balls behind you and just keep setting them up and shooting them in. And you want to hear the object ball thunk into the back of the pocket. If it hits one of the facings of the pocket and then goes in, that makes a different sound, and you're going to hear that. And obviously you're going to be happy if you make that shot during a match. But during practice, you want to hear a single sound, a single thunk of that object ball into the back of the pocket. But for now, we just need to stay down in the shot, stay as still as we can. Remember that you cannot control the balls on the table. There's only one thing you can control, and that's the motion of your forearm when you stroke forward. So keep that in mind when you're down in the shot. Take a laser focus on that aiming point and give it a smooth, firm stroke. Let's see how it works out. There's no sound in this video because of music copyright for the music that's playing in the pool hall. But I think you saw the break ball go into the center of the pocket. The key to that shot was to decide what was important to focus on and commit to that and eliminate any other thoughts. You can see that I've already decided what to shoot. I only have three possibilities: a long, tough combination on the 15-3. The two ball is a little bit far from the side pocket. It doesn't really go on the side. It's a difficult cut down the rail, and it's also a difficult position. And the 6 ball, cut shot into the corner. The cue ball is going to hit the 12 ball, which should slow down the cue ball a lot. And that's all the thought that I'm giving to position. And I approach it the same way I approached the break shot that I just shot. Pocket the ball, center ball hit on the cue ball, eliminate any other variables, and just commit to making the ball. And I'm not really paying position. I'm not going to baby this shot. I'm not going to hit it real soft. That's going to lead to more misses. You just want a nice, medium soft center ball hit. My only goal is to make that 6 ball, and then I'm confident that the cue ball is going to go somewhere where I'll have another shot and I can continue the rack with a bit more control. The cue ball came across the top of the 12 ball, and it looks like I'm going to have another tough shot, but then get a nice little roll and an easy shot in the side pocket. Now we can do a little bit of rack analysis. We've got a cluster in the rack area, 5 or 6 balls. We've got a very good potential break ball with the 3 ball. We have one trouble ball, the 2 ball. As I said, it's a little far away from the side pocket. It's going to need to get pocketed in one of the corners. And so the question is, do we want to do that sooner or later? There's a chance that I might make a better break ball with one of those balls in the rack area. The 15, 7, 5, 4 are all wide open, so I'm going to be using those balls to open up the rack. So where do I want to move the cue ball from here? In this case, I make the decision to play position for the 2 ball. I want to get that trouble ball out of the way immediately. I've got enough options, I think, with those open balls that I'm going to be able to get in the rack. If I'm going to make it to the next rack, I'm going to have to shoot that 2 ball sooner or later. Since I have such an optimal chance to get perfect position on it, let's do it right now. So I'm just going to draw below the side pocket, make sure I get a little angle, and then I can go from there. Okay, that's perfect. And the next thing I see, which is something that comes up very often in straight pool, I just want to draw back to get a cut shot on the 5. I'm going to send the cue ball into the bottom of that cluster, and the 4 ball is my insurance ball. But I also know if I don't draw the cue ball far enough, I've got the 7 or the 15 in the side. Now, I think the cue ball's current position is a result of a failure to decide and commit. You notice I did not take the time to just turn around and look at the 5 ball and decide how far I needed to draw the cue ball to get a good shot on the 5. Because of that, I have too much angle on the 5. So that was a failure to decide and commit. And I think the fact that I knew I had the 7 and 15 there made me a little lazy. Now I've got to deal with it. The 7 ball doesn't really help me. I can only send the cue ball up table. Maybe I could roll forward and then cut my break shot, the 3, and go into the cluster that way. I really don't like that option. So that means I've got to shoot the 15 ball or accept a real thin cut shot on the 5. I considered slow rolling the 15 and getting a shot on that stripe on the bottom of the cluster and use that to open the rack. But I really don't like slow rolling a ball into the side pocket. You can get a skid. It's hard to control the speed. So I ended up deciding to let the cue ball run into the 5. I figure if I come below the 5, it's going to stop the cue ball there and I'll have a shot on the 4. If I hit the 5 full, it's going to knock it out of the way and I'll have a shot on the 4 or the 5. But wouldn't you know it, I end up with a combination. And how easy would it have been for that 5 ball to roll a little farther where I didn't have a combination or any other shot on the table? I think I did well in committing to shoot the 15 ball in this way, but I probably didn't do a good job of making a decision. Was the 5 ball the better shot in that instance? I don't know. 6 to 5 and pick 'em. So I'm going to shoot the combination. I have to cut the 5 ball slightly to the left, so the cue ball is going to bounce off the rail. I'm not sure how far the 5 ball is going to move. So I'm playing position on 2 balls here, either the 5 or the 13 in the side, and then I'll use the 13 to bump that cluster open. Once again, I'm going to call that shot a failure to decide. I didn't go look at the angle of the 13 into the side. I didn't make a real firm decision on where I thought the 5 ball was going to go, and so I didn't get proper position on either ball. So from here I decided to shoot my only shot. I've got a slight angle on the 13, and I just want to draw the cue ball over a little bit so I can cut the 5 and run into the cluster. Do I go look and see what the right angle is? No. So I end up with a bad angle to do that, and more importantly, I'm shooting over the 7 ball in order to cut the 5. So I walk around and take another look at the 7. And as it turns out, I get fortunate here because the 7 ball is a slight cut to the right. And so my plan is to move the cue ball below the 3 and use that stripe ball that's low in the cluster to open the rest of the balls. And I believe the 10 ball goes also. So that's a recovery shot, and I had to shoot it because it was a failure to make a proper decision on the previous shot and a couple shots earlier. But now I've got a shot to run into the 8, maybe the 9 if I stroke the ball well. And I want to hit this firm enough so I get a shot on the 5 or the 8 ball if it moves out somewhere. So I'm still alive. I could shoot the 8 ball, but there's no future in that. I need to get an angle on the 5 in order to do anything. The 9 and the 14 are still kind of tied up. I eventually decide to play position for the 14 in the same pocket as the 5. This is a really thin cut shot, and I have to hit it with a really soft stroke. So that was a successful shot. That was a successful example of making a decision and committing to it. And now I've got to do it again because I just barely have enough room to cut the 14 ball. I'm using a lot of right English on this because I want to make sure that I cut the 14. And of course I do hit the 9 ball before the 14. So I think I've been fortunate to get through the rack as far as I have. Most of those shots have been good examples of not making firm decisions, not checking out my angles, and shooting a little bit fast. But I did make it this far because of a commitment to every shot. So now I'm fortunate to face an unplanned 3-ball end pattern, which doesn't look that bad. I've only got a few choices. I can shoot 8, 11, 9. I could shoot 11, 8, 9. Or I could shoot 8, 9, 11. The 11 ball is probably the worst key ball. The 9 is the best. So I decide to go 8, 11, 9. And this time I check my angle to make sure I get just right on that 11 so I can slide up past the 3 to get the right angle on the 9. I like to use a touch of inside English, left English in this case, on this draw shot. It makes the cue ball draw a little bit more smartly. It doesn't slide along the tangent line before drawing. Made a note to ask Dr. Dave how that exactly works, what the physics are of that shot, because I'm interested, and that'll be for another video. But 9 ball's an easy key ball, just pop out a little bit off the rail. I want to have an inside angle with the 3 ball as far from the rack as it is. I want to be able to use a high ball to go into the side of the rack. So let's speed ahead and see how I do. Nice job on that break ball, just like the one that began this rack. I'm happy to make it through that rack. Did it by committing to the shots, even though sometimes my decisions weren't the best. I did make decisions and committed to them. I hope you found that informative and helpful. Did you know that my book, A Shortstop on Straight Pool, comes with a USB drive key that has over 200 video clips demonstrating various break shots from everywhere on the table, along with more clips showing how to manufacture break balls, safety play, and a whole bunch of drills. Check it out right now at www.shortstoponpool.com. Also, all you VNEA players, look me up. I'm the real tall guy with gray hair and glasses. At the Valley Championships coming end of May, first week of June, I will have some coupons with me so you can save a little bit of money on the book and talk to me about straight pool. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Rack of the Week.